Hello, hello, hello. Is anybody out there? Okay, I see a few. Hello. How's everybody doing on a Wednesday afternoon? I hope everyone is ready for a new project. This is my Skafi Man earrings using super duos. It's not super duos. Oh my gosh. Delicas and two symbol findings, which is which you know me. I love symbols. They're fantastic. So this is Leslie Pope, senior designer at the Beadsmith, for people who don't know me. And here are the Skafi Man earrings, and I'm calling them that because I do think they look like little men in pants. I think they're very fun. You could also consider it a stash buster project because you see there's not a lot of beads needed to make them, as you can see from my little piles of beads on my mat. And as always, the tutorial is in the I Love Beads section on the website. And as always, we have the illustrations, and the last page has the colorways that I'm going to show you in today's project. And yes, like I said, it's a stash buster. I mean, look at the little teeny amounts of things you need. So the symbol findings are the Paraposis bead substitute. They're actually for Tila beads, but as you see, you can use them in whatever you want. And then the endings are called Skafi, and these are for delicas. They were specifically made for delicas, but I and Leslie Rogowski also think that they look like little purse handles, and they're so much fun. And as you see, there's the loop, so you can attach your ear wire or your jump rings or whatever you want to it. And before I get really started, there are two other Tila bead substitutes. This one is called the Votakis, and it looks like a little checkerboard in the middle, which is really nice. I like that little texture. I picked the Paraposis because I thought they looked more like a path on a walkway. And then these are the Peoneus, which have a indentation for a flat back crystal that you can glue in. We also had someone who, she just paints in some really funky colored nail polish and seals it in. And so for people who aren't into crystals, but this is also another Tila bead substitute. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to start the demo. So the instructions say to use at least a yard and a quarter of fire line to do this. I am going to be using short lengths of thread because I'm doing step outs. Because if you guys waited for me to do this whole thing, it would take a while because it is square stitch. So you start with one of your Skafi endings, and you're going to sew through a leg, one leg, and then you're going to pick up 7 of your first color of delicas, and that just, you get to pick which one you want. This is one of my favorite colors, matte metallic khaki iris. It's just like my absolute favorite bead color or bead finish, whichever one you want to call it. So then you're going to sew out the second leg so that the delicas are sitting inside of the 2 legs of the ending. And then we're going to secure it by putting what we call our little rivets on. So you're going to pick up a 15 and sew back through the leg and all the way through all of the delicas out the second leg. Don't sew through your stop bead though. And as you see, you get this little bead there that holds the beads on. And then I'm going to pick up another 15 and sew back through that leg and all the way through the delicas, but not that first 15. So as you see, they're all sitting in between the legs. And now we're going to square stitch. And if people aren't aware of the square stitch, it sounds exactly like what it is. You're going to basically be sewing in a square. So we're going to start with the leg. And so when you add these, when you put beads on these 2 legs, you're now going to have 9 beads instead of 7 beads. So the square stitches, you pick up the bead, bring it down, and then you're going to sew in the opposite direction of your thread, back through the bead you added in the direction of the thread. So you're going 1, going down, going up, going around, going through. And you would continue this across the row until you would get to the end of the row. So I'm going to presto changeo, get rid of that, and pick up my piece where I have square stitched a bead to the one end and every delica, and so I'm at the last leg, and I'm going to add my last delica. On that leg. And so now you have 9 beads. And the only other thing you need to know about doing square stitch is that you lock your rows. So to lock a row, you sew through all the beads on the previous row. If you can't get it through all at once, don't worry about it. This is not cooperating with me today. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to do this the hard way. And so I just suggest you take your time and not skip any beads while you're doing that. And I'm going to go out the leg. And then to complete locking, you're going to sew through all the beads on your previous row. Okay. And so that's row 1 and row 2. So row 3, we are going to add the parosis. So this fits about 3 of the delicas. So since you have 9 beads, you square stitch the first 3 delicas. Oops, I just hit the camera. Sorry guys, I'm getting a little wobbly there. I just hit the camera. And so number 2. And then number 3. And then you'll pick up your paraposis. And then you're going to attach it to 3 delicas because that's the space that it takes. So I'm going to sew back through the 3 delicas and snug it up and sew back through that hole. So that's your 3 beads, and then you're going to sew 3 delicas on the other side. And lock your row after you get to the end. That's number 2. And number 3. And hopefully you guys cannot hear all of the construction noise that's going on in the background here. My whole neighborhood is one big construction zone. Alrighty, so I have those 3 on, and I'm going to lock my row. So I'm going to sew back through the previous row. And sew through the row just added. And you can see how it just lines everything up and makes it firm. So that's row 3. So row 4 and 5, you're going to attach 3 delicas, sew through the same hole of the substitute, add 3 more delicas, and lock it. And then when you come down to add your next 3, you're going to sew through the second hole and add your 3 on the other side. And when you do that, this is what that will look like. So that's the row that I just showed you, and then the next 2 rows. So to get back to having your 9 beads across the bottom, you're going to sort of reverse what you did. So we're going to square stitch, three beads separately. Okay, whoop, chasing beads around my bead mat. Here we go. Whoops, nope, don't go only through 1 bead at a time. There we go. That's number 2. Nope, I didn't sew back through it. There we go. And then, oh, I keep hitting the camera. Sorry, guys. And number 3. And this can get a little widgety here, so you can bend it back just a little bit just to get through your bead, but try not to break any beads. And come on. There we go. So we're going to reverse how we added the substitute by picking up 3 delicas and sewing through the substitute, since that takes up 3 beads. And then when you get your 3 on the other side, you're going to be back to 3 delicas. So not 3 delicas, 9 delicas. So I'm going to add these 3 on this side. Okay. You guys could probably follow this just by looking at the illustrations in the pattern, because you're all very smart and very good beaders. Okay, that's that one. And then the last one. And as you see, we are now back to 9 delicas. Then you would lock your row, and then you do 1 more row of just delicas across, and then we're going to start decreasing. My next little presto changeo here. So this is now basically more than the first half of your earring. And when you come back after you lock the row above, you're not going to sew out of the last delica. You're just going to sew out the first 8 delicas, because we're now going to decrease. And we're using that with your second color of delica. So you'll do 2 rows of 7 across, then you'll do 2 rows of 5 across, and then you decrease down to 3, and those will be your last 2 rows, and your earring will be done. And I don't know, well, I'll just see how fast this takes me to do. I'm a pretty fast square stitch person. I know square stitch uses a lot of thread and can be a little time consuming. Although I don't think it's any more time consuming than doing some elaborate peyote pattern, unless you're doing, you're doing something where you're not making flowers or following a color or a diagram or something like that, or tapestry. I'm sure that can take a bit of time. And I know I've done some crazy wide, like peyote cuffs, but I don't know. I like square stitch for some reason. Considering I am not a loomer. That's Leslie Rogowski's purview, and she does wonderful stuff. Okay, so that's your first decreased row, and you would do the same thing. You're going to lock your row, so sew back through 7 of the previous row and out the 7 that you added. And after you do your second row of 7s, when you go to lock it, when you come back around, you're going to not come out the 7th bead. You're going to come out the 6th bead. And then you're going to do 2 rows of 5. Come down, lock it, come out the 4th bead, and then do 3 rows of delicas. And then you're ready to weave it in. I wove it back a few rows, and I put a couple of half hitch knots in it, but it gets pretty firm, and you can just cut off your cut off your thread, and I don't think that anything is going to come loose. I don't think any of your threads are going to come loose. You can see how substantial that is. And then you would just add your ear wire, making sure that the textured side of your sub is facing out when you attach your ear wire, because you want that to show. And that would be your Skafi man. And then you would just do that for your second earring. And there you go. And I dare you, I bet you can't just make one. And before I go, I'm going to give you a little teaser. I decided that these earrings were so cute that I was going to make a bracelet. So it's almost the same, just a couple of little differences. So stay tuned for the tutorial of that. I will not demo it because it's almost the same technique. However, we will put the pattern in the I Love Beads section as soon as I get it finished. So then you can have your earrings and a bracelet, because I think I did. Yes, I did. So this bracelet is the same color as this earring. So if you wanted to make a matching bracelet, you can make a matching bracelet. And so, on that note, I hope everyone enjoyed watching my quick demo of the Skafi Man earrings. And you go over to I Love Beads and grab the tutorial. The weather here in Philly is fantastic, so I hope the weather is good where everyone else is. So go out and enjoy the weather. And in the meanwhile, remember, you can find all these beads, symbol findings, fire line, any tools that I might have used that I might have forgotten to mention at your favorite bead reseller. And remember, we love you and we love beads. So until the next time, have fun beading, everyone. Bye.